So there's someone in the staging area, Marx, Marx. He's from Ubuntu podcast. He's also a prior OggCamp organizer, and he's the
Oh,
guy
let's
that
bring him
has
in.
a Steam controller and did our review and everything.
That's
Wes,
wonderful.
Built his own,
will you pull
built his
him
own
in there,
Steam
Wes?
machine.
Yeah.
I assume he probably has a working mic. I assume he probably does. Oh, I should start the show now. I
He
assume.
has an SM58 and a mixer, yeah.
Chat room, please bang suggest our show underscore lap. Okay, I should probably.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
Hello,
Hello.
Mark. Hello, Mark. So, Mark, you had a chance, sounds like, to try the Steam controller out. What do you think?
Did better than we did.
Yeah, you got farther than I did. What do you think of it?
I'm really enjoying it. I've tried it with games with quite a few different controller schemes, and I found, it's generally really successful.
Have you tried it with Alien Isolation?
No, I've not got that yet. I'm scared to buy it because with games like that, I tend to waste my money because I play for about an hour and then I'm just too scared to carry on.
Yeah, that's probably I literally bought it because I've heard from a few people that it works out of the box with the Steam controller. So I thought, okay, this is the one to try it on. And it looks really visually
It does
impressive.
look very impressive.
But no, I just tried it a few minutes ago, and no dice. So okay, so what's the experience like? You get a game and it has controller support, and if it just has controller support, you just start playing immediately.
Well, if it's got Xbox controller support, you just tell it to emulate a gamepad, and it works as an Xbox controller would.
Yeah.
If it's got Steam controller support, like Portal 2 does, then it's even better because actually in-game it tells you to press the Steam controller buttons rather than the Xbox controller buttons, and that's really nice.
It seems
I
like
wonder if that would have worked for this one.
it seems like for me, it's like in a matter of months, like a lot of little issues I've ran into are just going to be totally solved because there'll probably just be just a couple of updates to some of these games. Like take Race the Sun for example. It seems crazy that doesn't have controller support yet.
Yep.
But you give it a couple of
I was
weeks.
playing that at Mark's house yesterday. It works fine.
Well, okay, good.
There you
good.
go.
So when I went in there, it says it doesn't have controller support in the big picture mode, and that you have to, that's the kind of support I'm talking about. Not that it doesn't work. I just mean that you have to.
More integration. Seamless
Yeah,
kind
it doesn't seem.
And I've played a ton of Race to the Sun with the Steam controller, but I had to use a community config.
And that's not such a bad solution. And it's kind of nice that Valve set it up, but
It can especially maybe be a good first wave too until the
how do you know
the
what's?
games update
But how do you know
themselves.
what's a good scheme? You just sit there and
That's
try
my
like 4 or
only
5 of them.
criticism.
Yeah.
That's my criticism. They need a rating system so the
Yeah.
best ones propagate to the top. But other
Yeah,
than that,
well, you can tell like how many people are using it, but
Oh,
just
okay.
because it's popular doesn't. No. I mean,
That's the best.
sometimes
That's
you
not
get-
a horrible indicator. I mean, at least something though.
Yeah, go for the second most popular.
I would like somebody that needs to uprate controller schemes for players that have actually beat the game.
Oh.
So you just want a macro that will walk you through the game.
You know, I don't know why I even bother with this controller stuff because the mouse and keyboard can't be beat anyways, and I shouldn't bother because you can hook up a mouse and keyboard to a Steam machine too.
Yep.
So I should
So, challenge accepted.
for what?
You use a keyboard and a mouse, and I'll use the controller, and see who wins.
Have I tried? No, I haven't tried replacing the batteries. Oh, I should try that, huh? No. See, that's the thing, you guys, is that the Steam controller is working in big picture mode and like in the Steam overlay, and it does work in games when I go in there and manually map the buttons. It doesn't. What doesn't seem to be happening is if I select a controller config, it doesn't. The game doesn't seem to be aware of any controller config or button layout that I've selected, and most games are telling me I don't have a controller connected, even though I'm navigating
The
big
rest of
picture
it
mode
with
and the rest of the
controller.
UI with the controller. So
Are you on the Steam beta?
I don't know what I'm on actually. I could check, but I don't. I could be. That does sound like something I would do.
It does sound like
Yeah, I've noticed in the beta updates are coming almost daily on the Steam client lately, and the release notes almost always have, fix this with the Steam controller, added this to Steam Big Picture mode. So they're iterating very quickly right now.
Yeah, you know what? That is actually a good point. Is I should check for updates. That is probably something I haven't done for a few days on this, for more than a few days on this machine.
Yeah, the beta checkbox is really easy to find in the account settings. And, I haven't had any.
I'm not
You know,
currently
huge breakage
participating,
issues.
but I don't think I've really done updates either. So, well, I'll
What
get
you'll
it
probably
figured
find when a controller recognizes you've got buttons but not the actual controller mapping, I found before I had the Steam overlay turned on, it just uses the mapping that the Steam interface uses, which is completely useless for any game. So yeah, there is something going on there where it's picking up that you've got the controller in Steam, but it's not applying it in the game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is Linux Unplugged, episode 117 for November 3rd, 2015. Welcome to Linux Unplugged, your weekly Linux talk show that just threw out its no beer rule that it just made 10 minutes ago, right before the show started. My name is Chris.
And my name is Wes.
Hey there, Wes. You know, it is a tasty beer, too. Thank you for bringing these in.
That's my job, tempt you to break your rules.
You're a good man. I appreciate that. Well, it's a good show to break the rules on. Coming up on this week's episode of the Unplugged show, I tried out Ubuntu Mate 15.10 over the weekend. Going to give you my follow-up on that. We're also going to hopefully hear a little bit of how OggCamp went, and then we're going to get into some new desktop updates and some really great follow-up, especially for those of you that are looking to do some notes in plain text and have a nice way to organize them. We're going to talk a little about the Cinnamon desktop as well, and then we're going to look at the Volkswagen situation one more time, because there is another big update there, and it has caused a whole new round of mainstream press to say, this is why proprietary software is bad. It's amazing.
It's hard to believe, but...
We have a showcase in the show notes, and we're talking a little bit about that later in the show. And then last but not least today, as we're recording this very show, Fedora 23 hit the internets. The new Fedora is out. We're going to have our review on Sunday's Linux Action Show live on Friday. But we're going to cover what's new, how you can get it, and some of the things that we, as a group, are looking forward to for Fedora 23. Big release with GNOME 3.18 in it.
Oh,
So,
fancy.
Yeah, yes, very
That's great.
fancy. Very fancy. So we have some follow-up and some things to get into, but before we go any further, I got to bring in our virtual lug. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble Room.
Good afternoon.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, I got the jump on you. Hello.
Yeah.
Hey there. Hello.
Unsuspecting.
It's a big turnout today, too, so that's really cool. That's great to have you. Now, I hope some of you are also breaking the no beer rule that was implemented 10 minutes ago and then also shattered 2 minutes ago. I hope you're breaking that right now with me. So I have one bullet point in the show notes for this very, very important bit of follow-up this week. We have assembled a crack team of on-the-scene reporters from OggCamp 2015, and I'm hoping that I know Popey's here. I believe Mark is here from some other podcast, I'm told, and all these guys from some other podcast, I'm told. Although those are probably rumors. They're probably not even in the U.S. And they're gonna give us a roundup of what happened at OggCamp. So who should I give the floor to first?
I think you should hand on to Mark first, because I understand Popey's having difficulty with his PC.
Well, you know what? That's so funny, since he was giving me a hard time running Arch before the show started. Isn't that appropriate?
Filthy rumor. Filthy rumor.
I actually think we should give it to Mark too, though, since Mark made the special trip here. It's his first time here, so why not throw him under the bus right away? That only seems fair.
That's our policy.
Yeah, that's the we
So
like.
nice of you.
Yeah. So Mark, welcome to Linux Unplugged, and tell us a little bit for those that didn't listen last week. What is OggCamp, and how the heck did it go?
Well, OggCamp we call it a free culture on conference. So it's an event that's been running for the past 6 or 7 years. I've lost count now. But basically, we hire out a venue, and then we convince a bunch of people to somehow turn up and come up with a schedule and give a load of talks about anything kind of community driven, really. So we have people talking about Raspberry Pis. We have people talking about running in parks at the weekend. We had panel discussions, we had some live podcast recordings, hardware hacking, all sorts.
Wow, that is like a pick your choice. There's going to be something there to delight any geek that would listen to this show, I think.
I love the generality, like it's not so constrained. You can kind of just come and share the cool thing you're doing.
Yeah, and so I bet there's a lot of Linux that works up in that crowd that comes up. So how did it go? Was it a good event? Was there a good turnout? Did you enjoy yourself? I heard rumors of shouting, etc.
Shouting was mainly in the evenings. We went to some really cool venues in Liverpool, which were converted warehouses. And being a bunch of geeks, rather than getting up and dancing, of course, we wanted to stand around and talk about geeky things all evening. And they kept on turning the music up. So by the mornings, we were a little bit hoarse.
That's hardcore.
I think we're still recovering.
The reason I think System D is actually a good idea. I could see that.
Yeah. Oh, you were there? Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. Interspersed with, I'd like another beer.
Yeah.
So how does it compare to last year? Is that like OggCamp 14 and 13?
That's a good question. So OggCamp 13 was at the same venue. It was probably comparable, actually. I mean, we had some different things going on in terms of exhibitors, but we had, a similar sort of variety of talks. Last year's was in a different venue and had probably more of a focus on the sort of exhibition space as well. There was some really cool, like we had a load of hack spaces there last year. This year we had a few sort of hardware things, and we had the Ubuntu stall and the Fedora stall across from each other in the exhibition space. But we also had an Entroware exhibiting, which was really cool with their Ubuntu laptops that they're selling now.
Yeah, I saw a few pictures online of those, and I also see a Fedora laptop there too.
You might have done. We didn't have anything to do with that, really.
Right? Yeah.
No,
Still,
I
that's
did.
pretty cool.
I did. I made peace with my Fedora brethren, and they were running Fedora 23 and GNOME 3 on a large panel, and then on a laptop they were running Fedora demonstrating their alternate spins, and they had the Mate desktop running there. So I decided to make my peace with Fedora and introduce myself to John Archer, and he's a lovely bloke.
That's right.
Yeah,
I saw on your
I
feed.
had the Ubuntu stand immediately opposite Fedora stand, and partway through the day we exchanged merchandise, stickers and pens and badges and things, and
We played
made our
game of
peace.
football in no man's land.
Nice.
Yes.
Very good. So, so it sounds like an event that was well attended. Popey, how did the live tracker end up working out? I checked in at one point, but I couldn't tell if it was working or not.
Yeah, it was kind of hit and miss. We had an Ubuntu phone polling our position to the website, and various people would tell us every so often when it was broken, which was usually because I'd poorly written the code on the phone, and it would run out of memory as it was logging far too excessively.
Wow.
That was my fault.
That's actually pretty neat still, though.
But this is not indicative of other apps' performance.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you got that undercurrent. Well done.
Yeah, Popey's code is not. Yeah, exactly. A little disclaimer. That's still a neat thing, though. I like that.
That's very cool.
I think we should seriously come up with a legitimate live tracker app for Ubuntu phone, and then in a future road trip when I go somewhere, I'll use that to track where I'm going. Because I have this Silver Cloud thing for now, but I can swap that out anytime. All right, so Wimpy and Popey or Mark, anything else from OggCamp? It sounds like it was a pretty fun event. I kind of want to go there.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
One of the cooler hardware hacks that I saw was a Nerf gun range which someone had set up. There was a few years ago, someone had built a Minecraft crane which picked up boxes and made them into sort of Minecraft style objects, and the same guy had brought the boxes along, made these sensors which he put inside, so if you shot them with a Nerf gun it activated the sensor, and then he had that hooked up to this RFID tag system to identify who you were, and it tracked your score and tweeted you.
Wow.
And there was a prize for the 3 top scores. The prizes were won by these 3 kids who discovered an exploit in the system and and managed to get themselves scores of about 500 million compared to my 16,000.
Is there a lot of times when I attend a conference like this, even when there's everything from software to hardware and community and just the open culture itself is really the highlight. A lot of times, though, you can't help but walk away and go, boy, I kind of feel like there was a overarching theme or an elephant in the room. And is there one like that at OggCamp? Is there like something is really kind of the buzz this year, or it feels like a bubble or a trend that you observed, or is it really pretty dispersed?
There was one that emerged as a theme. It wasn't planned, but there was a lot of discussion about online privacy.
Yeah, I was wondering.
That was the topic for the panel discussion, and Linux Voice also recorded a live podcast on the second day, and that was also their discussion piece for the live audience.
Yeah. That makes sense. That was when I asked the question. That was in the back of my mind. Mark, were you gonna chime in with something too?
Oh, I was going to say exactly what Martin just said, actually.
Privacy and online, and is it from the state, or is it just privacy in general? Is it if you abstract it out from there, is it like Snowden type stuff, or what is it? The overall theme.
That was kind of what it came out. It was, we were talking about whether the cloud is a good thing or a bad thing, basically, and then we moved on to basically, do people care about what happens to their data online, and should they care, and can we make them? That was where it all really went.
But it does seem like we care as a community. The people that the average Linux user does care, and also the average Linux user seems to be better positioned than most users to do something about it, either from a technical knowledge set or by the very fact that they're using an open system. And so it does seem to be coming up more and more at these conferences because we're the type of user to think about this kind of thing. We're also the kind of user that is willing to live with password managers and two-factor authentication and we're also the kind of user that cares about these kinds of things. So it's a really interesting cross-section that I find when I go to these kinds of conferences. So that's interesting that it came up there.
So one of the talks that it's typical for talks to get composed as a result of a conversation the night before. And that was, typical of OggCamp this year. And John Spriggs did a piece about Squirrel, SQRL, which is a two-factor authentication.
Yeah, Gibson's
protocol.
thing, right?
Yeah, is that his thing?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I know, which is why I was surprised that... Yeah.
John did specifically say that focus on the protocol and not who came up with it.
Yeah, well, that is very true, right? I mean, if the code is good code, then and if it's a good protocol, then that's...
And it's open and we can take it to,
Yeah. So is this okay? Be honest with me now. Be honest with me. Is this something that I should try to make it to next year? Because it's a big commitment. I would have to fly out there, lots of money, et cetera, et cetera. Does that seem like? I mean, how many? I mean, really? Come on, be honest. How many people are we talking?
Well, first thing I'll say,
400.
Oh, that's a really nice sweet spot.
Yeah.
I like that size. That's you get more than 2,000. It's just crazy.
You would really enjoy it. That's all I'll say, regardless of how big the audience is. You would definitely enjoy it.
Yeah. And although it's a 2-day event, so there's the Saturday and the Sunday this time, there's actually like 4 days packed into that because there's the main events that happen during the day, and then there's the evening events that start at about 6 o'clock in the evening and go on to about midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. So there's sort of like 4 events over those 2 days.
Oh, that is fun. I like that. Now, is there a spot I can...
The social track is as good as the sort of the event itself.
That is always so true, especially when it's around 300-400 people, because when you get bigger than that, it's too much white noise. Literally. Now, is there a spot I can park the Rover?
The UK Rover.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah. Well, I mean, a UK dedicated UK Rover.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Our roads are quite narrow.
Yeah. Okay.
And you might have heard that we actually drive on the correct side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I am worried about that. Yeah, that is going to change my world if I have to go over there. Well, I thank you guys for coming in here and giving me the update. That is really cool. Any other things you want to mention about about OggCamp 15 before we soldier on?
I think it's one of those things that at the end of the Sunday we all get together, as the guys said. There's there's multiple things to get involved with, and the very final thing on the Sunday is a few relaxing beers where we discuss what we're going to do next year. And so we'll keep you informed about what's going to happen next year and when it will be and where it will be, so you can plan your flight and everything.
Yeah, do let me know. And it's funny, and I know I make this point too often. But even as we sit here with a virtual lug, which is pretty awesome, like the Mumble and Google Hangouts and all this stuff are pretty damn good tools to connect with people, and we can have really great conversations. But there is something about when you go to an event like this and everybody there speaks your language. They know like what a kernel is. They know what a cloud computer really is. When I'm talking about the cloud, they know I'm really talking about somebody else's server at a data center, and you all are on the same page. And it is if you walk around in your life, you're like kind of the technical person in your family, like you're the person that fixes things in your family, or you're in the tech department at your work. You almost lose touch with how amazing it is to be around other people that value the same things you value and appreciate the same things that you appreciate, and also want to maybe even debate the nuance with you. And to do that in person, Mumble really does a great job of this. IRC and Hangouts do a great job of this. But nothing does it like in person. Like you guys were saying,
increase in
the
bandwidth.
social stuff. Yeah, it is. It's a huge increase in bandwidth between two people or a whole group of people, and it is really exciting. And what you realize is we're not as bad as that BSD community makes us look.
Exactly.
Right? We're not.
We're nice people.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
With good software.
So that's what I take away every time. All right. So I just wanted to really quickly do a little follow-up from Sunday's Linux Action Show. We got an email in asking how Noah and I manage our notes. And I said, well, I always do plain text files, and I try to write them in Markdown, and that's kind of my base requirements. Well, we got a great recommendation, and I'm sorry I did not grab the name of the Reddit user who submitted it, but it is a QOwnNotes. It's an open source notepad for Linux and those other desktops that works together with the Notes application of OwnCloud. It's a desktop app, though. So this is what's really cool, is it's a desktop application that it's a GTK app, from what I can tell, that has Markdown support, and it has change tracking. You use your own notes. You can sync them over to other devices. You can then log into your OwnCloud instance and edit them with a local OwnCloud app. But even if you're on like an iOS device, you can, if you have OwnCloud and access like to the file system, you can just edit it in any Markdown editor. Like it's not locked to OwnCloud. So this is really, really cool. And I've made a big stink about OwnCloud before. Have you caught that?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I basically bailed on OwnCloud.
You certainly taxed it
a few months
and
ago.
It disappointed you.
Yeah, basically I just pushed it to the limits with way too much data, and I bailed. But I only bailed, and I don't think I made this point very clear, I only bailed for file sync. I'm still using OwnCloud to
and that's one area where it has the most competition, I would say.
Right. I would agree. And honestly, I think SyncThing does a better job.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, but I'm still using it for CarDav and CalDav. So you have a Nexus 5. Are you all in on the Google?
At the moment, my main counter is I do have an OwnCloud instance that needs to be updated, and but I've impressed with it in the past.
Have you considered trying to transition from Google services to OwnCloud, or is it just not worth it?
No, I think it's totally worth it. I need to move email. Email is the one thing, and then I think I would consider moving the rest of my investment.
So I did. It's funny you say that, because I went the opposite route. I moved my calendar and my access, or my calendar and my address book, and I haven't moved email yet. And so this is why, for me, I kind of like this QOwnNotes, because I still have an OwnCloud instance sitting around that I could use to sync my notes, but on the back end, it's all just text files too, or Markdown files, which are text files.
Exactly.
So yeah,
I love the text files.
This was a really cool recommendation.
Beautiful.
Yeah, QOwnNotes, and it is a, as you probably guessed, it is an OwnCloud app, but it really is just a matter of syncing with text files. And also, text to do was another recommendation that came in a lot. And if you haven't caught this Sunday's Linux Action Show, the question was, how do we manage our to-dos? And I said, text files. How do you manage your to-do list?
Text files, and I use Task Warrior for a lot of my work stuff.
What?
Yes.
Task Warrior? Mm-hmm. Is this a desktop, Android app?
Command line. I believe they have some. I believe they have some.
Hold on a second.
UIs.
Hold on a second. Did you just change my life? Mumble Room. Anybody in the Mumble Room use Task Warrior? Task Warrior. Hold on.
Yeah, I've used it.
This is a command line to do. This sounds like Linux Action Show app pick material to me. You jerk, Wes. How have you been sitting on this and not telling me that there is a to-do app for the command line?
Wait till you find out that you can run your own sync server on a DigitalOcean droplet.
Oh, I'm very excited. All right. So this is how you do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for everybody
naturally,
hold on. Before Wes goes any further, everybody listening, we're gonna play a little game. If Chris makes this his app pick on the Linux Action Show, we're all gonna pretend like we didn't already hear about this. All right. So tell me about this, because I'm very excited. So you use Task Warrior with a DigitalOcean droplet, and you go to the command line to set your to-dos.
Yeah, and it really is just like a CLI interface. Like task add, and then you can specify like project. Project at work or your home life or whatever, and then an arbitrary string. And they have, you can set priorities, you can set due dates, and then just task sync, and it syncs up. There's a Android app called Miracle, which does task, but it integrates with the Task Warrior server.
Oh, okay.
So you can have the same thing on your phone,
okay,
but without the command line.
Okay, all right. So now, what's the server setup like? Is it like, so on the scale of a Quasar client to, SmokePing, how difficult is it to set up?
I would say similar to Quasar. You don't need a database backend or anything.
Server, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No database, so you don't have to set up a database server or anything like that.
You do have to set up some primary or private key infrastructure.
Okay.
But it's really not that bad. It's mostly, you pretty much just assemble You have to set up a few configs and set the right config file so that it allows the Miracle app from your Android phone. But once you've got that in place, it really just works.
Oh, that's money.
So here's another option. There's a command line tool called to-do.txt.
Yeah, from
Yeah, I've seen that one
Giuliani.
before
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Right, and it's a bash script, so it's essentially this. It does the same stuff that Task Warrior does, but Task Warrior is a lot more like robust in features. So if you've ever used to-do.txt, it's very similar in the way that it handles.
I mean, the main thing about
tasks.
to-do.txt is you got to provide your own sync mechanism.
Oh, right.
Right, so you have to do sync thing, or really Dropbox is what I think it. If you're going to use
Well,
it,
no, if you do the same thing that Task Warrior does, where you put it on a server, you can do the same thing with to-do.txt, put it on a server, and then just.
So what I'm thinking about. So I mean, when I say that, what I'm talking about is from the perspective of mobile applications. The mobile apps that use to-do.txt always want Dropbox.
Oh, I
Right,
see.
except actually, there's this awesome app I found because I built my own to-do.txt app. Like structure, because I don't like the basic structure. I wanted to have like a massive customization where one to-do.txt file is not enough for me, so I currently have like 30.
Boss level. That's
really not
boss
en-
level.
Yeah.
really not
Damn,
enough.
dude. Damn, dude.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I built my own bash script too to manage all of them too, so it has like automatic archiving from like a huge list of things. Anyway, I'm actually going to be releasing it at some point, probably.
Well, come
the
on, hurry
reason
up, Rotten.
Well, I made it for myself, and then I told people about it, and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's cool. We should give it to me." Like, well, I didn't make it for everybody, so it's complicated.
That's
but
what
anyway.
I
Linus. That's
understand
what
that.
Linus said about Linux.
Well, that's what he said
that's
about
true.
Git,
But-
and it's still true.
Well, there's the other thing is that the reason I brought that up is because because I did this, I wanted to find a mobile version, and there's it's called Simple Tasks, and it has it's Simple Task Cloud, and there's Simple Task Cloudless. So if someone doesn't want a cloud storage, they can use any sync they want and sync it to their phone directly. So I have like a custom sync thing set up for that. But there's also the cloud version. You can choose whatever cloud you want. You don't actually have to be stuck to Dropbox.
Well, that's nice.
Okay, yeah. Huh. So there's to-do.txt and Task Warrior as two follow-ups to the email we got in the Linux Action Show on Sunday. And the Task Warrior thing is really, that's fascinating to me. I'm going to check that out. I like that a lot. Now,
One more thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One more thing.
Yeah.
The to-do.txt thing, if someone wants a GUI, that Go For It app that was a app pick a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, that one is compatible with to-do.txt, so you could have command line, and you can also have a nice GUI if you want it.
I don't mean to make a Popey our token Ubuntu phone guy, but I was just going to throw this your way, Popey, because whenever we're talking about like a task management app or a calendar management app, I always think, well, what if I want to bail from Android? What if I want to bail from iOS? What are you using, Popey, when you're using your Ubuntu phone? What are you using in that environment for task management to do? Or it doesn't even have to be like to-do lists, even just like setting reminders and things like that. What are you using?
So that's a great question, and the reason I use the app I use is because I always used Evernote in the past. So I use Evernote on the desktop and Evernote on the web, and we have a notes client that can optionally sync to Evernote. So I just synchronize all my notes with Evernote, and then I've got those local. But there's at least 3 task managers in the Ubuntu store. So, if you don't want to use that one, there are lightweight ones, there's HTML5 ones, or you could just go and get the task binary, stick it on your phone and open that in a terminal if you really wanted to.
Yeah, but I want to talk about that. That's the elephant in the room for me for all of this. And this is something I don't say usually. Well, I've mentioned it before, but for me, if I want something and I don't want to forget it for a really long time, and I'll give you an example, like when I know I'm going to need to know the VIN number of my truck for probably about 8-9 years. That's probably how long I'll own that truck. And that's how long I owned my last truck. And so there are many times when you're getting insurance or you're setting things up that you need to recall the VIN number of your vehicle.
You want it easily accessible.
So for that kind of info, like that really long-term, for remember forever kind of stuff, I am still today using Evernote. And I'm just choosing to use it from a smart device.
Although, to be fair, the kind of stuff like that, which I would think is slightly private Like, I don't know, VIN number of a vehicle is probably not that bad because it's probably visible
But I
on the
do know what you
windscreen.
mean. Like I have other information in there that is like kind of I'm not super comfortable with it being with a third party.
Right. So for those, I have a GPG encrypted text file on my local machine, which is backed up in various places, but no, it's GPG encrypted, so I feel okay about that. And obviously the phone, you can use GPG on that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say. I keep a lot of stuff in text files with SyncThing as it is now. So.
Yep. And since I started playing with Pass, I started realizing, why don't I just do this more often? Just encrypt this stuff and then sync it everywhere. And I don't care because I'm using GPG and I trust GPG.
And SyncThing has encryption as well in transit. So.
Yeah. But I fundamentally trust GPG.
Yes, I do as well.
SyncThing, their encryption, I'm sure, is great.
It's
but
just like okay,
yeah.
well, good. At least it's not plain text.
Exactly. So you get me. All right, Mumble, any other thoughts on that topic before we move on?
Yes, I do. On the subject of notes, I've actually been looking, and I don't even know if this exists, for an application that you type everything in Markdown for the notes and everything, and it looks like Gnote or Zim and has support to sync to like a Google Drive or Dropbox, so that maybe later at some point you can access those notes on your Android device.
Yeah, but you can basically accomplish that today just using gedit or Kate or whatever, Kwrite or whatever, and just saving it to a Dropbox or SyncThing or BitTorrent sync folder and then pulling that up on your mobile device.
Is there a good mobile Markdown editor?
Oh, yeah, lots.
I assume there must be.
Yeah, lots. I can't remember off the top of my head for Android because I haven't been using it for a while, but there are a lot. There are a lot.
Amazing editors for Markdown on Android. But no, the reason that I'd like something like Zim or Gnote is because of how the notebooks and whatnot are organized. It's just a very cool format.
Yes, yeah. Having that sort of meta organization with tags and categories and subcategories is really nice, and that's what Evernote provides, and it kills me. It frickin' kills me. Just like, and I don't want to go on anymore on this, but just like we're seeing more and more open source projects take on Slack and use Slack.
Yep.
Yeah, Antergos is my favorite, or Antergos. How do I say it?
Antergos.
Wimpy, can you?
Antergos.
Antergos is switching from IRC to Slack.
Oh, really?
And there was just
sort of.
Well, okay, all right. Well, go ahead. Correct me.
Okay. It's not switching. It's both. Using both. I'm the lead op for it's splitting. I'm the lead op for the IRC for Antergos, and the developers prefer to use Slack. So there's a weird split right now. But yeah, it is a Slack thing that they prefer Slack.
Yeah.
So it is becoming.
They listed some really good reasons on their Google Plus page, and also, you know what? I'm going to say it. Jupiter Broadcasting has started using Slack, but there is a blog post at drewdevvault.com saying, please don't use Slack, FOSS projects. And I want to dig into that because I'm going to be honest. We have started using Slack here at Jupiter Broadcasting, and I have felt like a bastard for the last 2 weeks we've been using it. It has been driving me absolutely crazy, and I want to talk about that with you guys. First, though, I want to mention Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged to get the Linux Unplugged discount and support this show. Even if you're just checking them out and want to browse around, linuxacademy.com/unplugged supports this show. Go there and try them out. And then while you're there, do the tour. Take the tour. I invite you because I think it's going to blow your mind. It's kind of amazing, actually. Finally, an educational resource that is really actually focused and dedicated to Linux and open source and all of the technology around that, including even like AWS and all of the major technology stacks like Red Hat, OpenStack. It is really fantastic. They have step-by-step video courses, and they are really good with instructor help available when you need it. You can download the study guides. They're comprehensive. You can listen to them in the shower, like listener Seth if you want. And they come with their own servers, which is not just nice, but the way they have done it, it's like, oh yeah, they realize you're a Linux user. The way they set up the SSH, the way you can get into it and control the system, the way you get complete control over it, and 7+ distros to choose from. And you choose the distro, the courseware, and the virtual servers they spin up on demand automatically match that choice. You get to keep track of your progress as you go along, and they're rolling out new features. Rather than just like checking how you did after you're all done and waiting for the feedback after you do something, they're now allowing you to perform exercises and give you immediate real-time feedback. You could have done it this way. You could have answered it this way. You could have used this command. They have scenario-based courses. That way you actually deploy and work with the technology in real time in production. So when you go to actually do it in production, in your production, when you're getting paid for it, it's not the first time you've worked with it. That is serious peace of mind. And they also now have a new professional development certification platform I invite you to go check out. If you've decided the route for you is to expand your skill set, to make you more employable, to make you a little more competitive, if you just want to challenge yourself, these are all good reasons to go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged. And by the way, they also have time availability planners. You can tell how much time you have if you're busy. And as a father of 3 and somebody who hosts 12 shows a week, trust me. Oh, actually, this week, I'm not hosting 12 shows. I take that back. But I'm still hosting like 7 shows a week.
Scrupulously honest, hosting 7 shows a week.
Right. There's 6 shows maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll just cancel one of them randomly. But still, trust me, I know what it's like to feel very busy. I really do. And that's why their availability planner is freaking awesome. I love it. Plus, they have live sessions you can attend. They have a community that is stacked full of Jupiter Broadcasting members to help you when you need a little bit of boost. And they have live sessions with those Q&A. I really think that's a valuable thing. Graded server exercises are really great. And then last but not least, I gotta say, I think those nuggets, the name is funny. It's a nugget.
Tasty nuggets.
You put that in some honey mustard, Wes, and I'm good to go.
Ooh.
Good to go.
A little honey mustard with you.
I don't care about pink slime. You know what? I'm still here. After years and years of pink slime, I'm still here. But let me tell you something. That's not what Nuggets are about, Linux Academy. Kind of wish they were, but it's not.
What are they?
No. In fact, it's just like you go deep dive into a particular topic. Something like, I don't know, an SSH tunnel for like a few minutes, or something really massive for like 60 minutes. But it's a deep dive into a singular topic. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go check it out. It's really great. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. And a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Unplugged program. Okay, now feel free to let me hear it. But am I the biggest hypocrite in the world by hosting 2 Linux podcasts a week and then planning for them in Slack? And I'll tell you, I've gotten a lot of emails because I haven't really talked about it in Linux Action Show or Linux Unplugged, but I have talked about it in Coda Radio. And in Coda Radio, I've been getting consistent emails about MatterMost and other alternatives to Slack. And I find it interesting that I'm thinking about this at the same time. I'm also seeing posts from a lot of different people about Slack, including this one over at drewdevvault.com, where he says, don't use Slack. It's closed source, has only one client. Well, not really. That's not true. It's a walled garden, requires users to have different tabs open for each project, and requires hacks to do open registration. He says, go with IRC, which I say IRC is not an open source product. It is a protocol. It does not compete with Slack or things like MatterMost. But let me have it. Am I a huge hypocrite? Am I a jerk for hosting the Linux Action Show and then using Slack to plan it?
I wish I could comment, but since I'm helping plan on Slack.
And you use Slack for work,
I
too.
do use Slack for work.
Yeah.
I'm torn.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Part of me says, yes, you gigantic hypocrite. You should be using other things, but the fact is you're using the best tool for the job, and for you, that tool is the best tool for the job. And IRC works and is relatively robust. We often have problems. We use IRC a lot in Canonical, and we use Freenode, and we have our own internal private IRC server. And when one goes down, we switch to the other. And then when Slack goes down, what do? You'll probably switch to something else, whether it be IRC or Telegram or something else.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm torn because I also use non-free stuff. I use Telegram, which open source client, but closed back end.
Yeah, right.
So I'm in the same position. I'm pragmatic about these things.
Yeah, I find this to be an interesting trend that's developing. And I think you could also say the same thing would apply to Google Docs or Office 365 or Basecamp or Wunderlist or anything really. Debian shouldn't use Wunderlist to plan their tasks, right? Anyways, it is something that's
that's because it's owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, well, there's that. It is the reason why I brought it up on Linux Unplugged is because it is something that seems to be going on in the background. And so, from my 50-foot view or 500-foot view or whatever you want to call it, my intention here is sort of like looking at the landscape, looking at Slack, and saying, does this idea of a way for group collaboration? Because we're trying to solve something where you have people all over the world, and the things we work on, they absolutely, without a doubt, take a week. Every single show, from the moment we go off the air, everybody that walks away from the show starts thinking about the next show. As soon as you're done, you go, oh geez, wow, I'm done with 117, but oh my God, now I have to do 118.
Yeah, you open the net for the next one.
Right. So Slack gives us a place for all of us who are doing that to dump those things when they come up and plan for the next thing. And then we start and we pick up momentum as that show gets closer. And the reason why it's a little better than IRC is it allows for additional functionality that's kind of nice to have. And it also gives you something that is very, very valuable. It's set up ready to go right now. I just want to do a brain dump. I do not want to start setting up software. I want to do a brain dump. It gives me that immediately. And I think that's important. Whatever, it has large user adoption, kind of like Skype or Google Docs. Wes already had an account. Rotten Corpse already had an account.
Right. I don't have to have a new client.
Boom,
I don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have people we have people ready to start, already can just get going without that quote unquote friction. That was a nice thing to have. And then number 3 or C, whatever, that was really kind of great about Slack is it just isolates it. It's all of that stuff in one space, where IRC now can be dedicated to other things. This is dedicated to those things. And if I do not, as a person who sometimes has to be able to step away and have, for God's sakes, 2 hours that don't involve work, it is so nice to know that I can open up Telegram or I can open up my IRC client and there will not be 35 questions about work. If I want to find that, I go into Slack. And so it also gives separation and space. And the thing is Slack just gives that immediately. So the idea was, does this concept actually add value as an organizational tool? I think the answer to that is yes. Slack does seem to demonstrate there's value there. So now, as somebody who's an open source advocate, my question is, well, now can I replace that functionality with MatterMost, and can I convince the team to switch? It's not really my job, though, to make MatterMost more competitive. Now, the Jupiter Broadcasting team is pretty much ready to switch to something that is more open than the alternative. Like, we were all using Viber for a while to do team messaging, and as soon as I said, Telegram looks like a way better solution, and the protocol's open, the client's open. I'm using a totally open client right now. Let's go to Telegram. Everybody switched to Telegram immediately, even if it didn't do absolutely everything Viber did. Like it didn't do stickers and all that stupid crap at the time. It added that stuff later, and everybody switched. So the Jupiter Broadcasting team and probably a lot of open source project teams are a little more willing to switch before others would. So I can probably get MatterMost set up in a droplet up on DigitalOcean, ready to go. And it doesn't do everything Slack does. Yeah, sorry, it won't quite integrate with Dropbox. Yeah, you can't write the bot that we wanted to write, but you can move over to MatterMost, and it's going to be a pretty solid collaboration tool because we bored the idea out without having to spend 2 days setting up the server first.
That's true.
But you've already said that you've switched from IRC to Viber, and from Viber to Telegram, and now from Telegram to Slack.
I wouldn't say switched because they're all, with the exception of Viber, we did totally replace Telegram and Viber. Like Viber was totally replaced by Telegram. But IRC is still used as a secondary tool. Right.
Well, I doubt you'll make that go away because there's loads of us sat here lurking in the IRC channel unless you shut the channel
even
down.
From like a production standpoint, like we have back-end channels that aren't public that we're still using.
Right, and that's what I mean. The kind of people who sit in those channels are the kind of people who will continue to sit in those channels. But I don't know. It seems like you don't have that much of a problem switching from one system to another. And when you said that
I would
Slack
agree.
was easy because other people were already on it, that's just first mover advantage and the network effect because they were the IRC, but something like IRC communication method. MatterMost is the free software option. So when in the same way that Windows has got first mover advantage against Linux, and Linux is the free software advantage, you should be choosing Linux over Windows in the same way that you should choose MatterMost over Slack.
I suppose I see your point there, and it means that when MatterMost is ready or when we're ready, it wouldn't be a hard transition to switch.
Yeah, we do have that advantage.
Yeah, not everybody does though.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the main takeaway from this is that with MatterMost, there's a lot more setup issues that you have to deal with. So if you're just trying to test to see if the concept of Slack or MatterMost will work, it would make more sense to try out Slack first, just because it's a lot easier barrier to entry.
If you re-listen to exactly what Rotten just said and replace what he said about Slack and MatterMost with Windows and Linux, where he said,
"You're right." Yeah.
He said Linux is harder to set up, and that's why we're currently using Slack.
And what I think the answer there is, though,
I'll
is
see myself out now.
No. I think what the answer there is, and I in Coda Radio this week I linked to and I talked a little bit about. There is a guide now that makes setting up a Docker container with MatterMost on a DigitalOcean droplet a pretty straightforward process. So it's getting to the point now where if you are a little technically inclined and you are okay spending a few minutes doing stuff, you can deploy MatterMost now. And that's about...
I would bet you $5 that if you told one of your minions you wanted to switch to MatterMost, by the time you wake up and have done your hair in the morning, someone will have it running.
Sir, how long do you think it takes me to do my hair?
Well, I added that in
an hour and a half. That's my bet.
Just in case, you know.
You know, it's funny, actually. It's funny you say that because I have a girlfriend, and I had to meet her family, right? Because that's the thing you do. And I met her sister, and her sister's like, "I really like your hair." And I'm like, "Okay, that's awkward, but thank you."
Yep.
And she's like, how long does it take you in the morning? And I'm like, "What?" And I stopped and thought about it. Like, do people actually think it takes me a while to do this?
It does look, as a guy, it does look high maintenance, Chris. It really does.
Now, Popey, what I have to assure you is what I have done is I have routinated and I have laser factored, as any male would, his hair, this hairstyle. It is the laziest approach possible. It is so funny. Like, okay, here's another story. No shit, and then we'll move on. One of the first times I ever worked with Noah on location, we go to a Denny's and we sit down. His wife is there and we're having dinner and he goes, "Okay, so tell me how you do your hair." I'm like, "What? Tell me how you do your hair." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I get out of the shower and then I grab the comb and I comb it the way I want it to comb it. And every now and then I'll put I have this coconut stuff I'll put in there, and that's it. I get it from the grocery store. The grocery store.
You've completely left out what time you get out of the shower and what time you get out of the bathroom after you've done your hair.
Sir,
that's the crucial
your
thing.
fantasy aside, it is literally here is literally the trick. You just do it. You do it before it dries.
So no, actually, Popey, what he left out is that he conjures black magic.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, fine. I'll tell you about some black magic. That is Cinnamon 2.8, which was released today. And of course, you're going to see it soon in Linux Mint 17.3 Rosa, planned for release at the end of November. It has better sound applets, and man, I got to tell you, I've been using Ubuntu Mate this weekend. It's nice, but that looks way better.
Yeah, that's pretty slick.
I love you, Wimpy, but that does look really good. All right.
All right, I've got my Rhino hide jacket on.
So a lot of nice improvements to this new version of Cinnamon. The new workspace switcher is super, super slick and harkens back to basically what you get from GNOME 2 or desktop Mate now. The system tray has got a lot of improvements. The window list is really slick with the really nice tightened window thumbnails. Visual improvements all throughout, including better support for high DPI, and they did a little magic to make sure that if you hook up a 4K television, which are notoriously horrible at telling the operating system what they do, much improved support for that, including high DPI, which is... I got to say it again, including high DPI. I got to say it again, including high DPI. I got to say it one more time, high DPI. As I have one machine with high DPI, and I feel like I'm constantly suffering. A couple other things were changed. Sorry, Cinnamon now supports a microphone mute buttons. The Cinnamon settings daemon is more robust than before, and Xrandr support was significantly improved. Many bug fixes were ported from GNOME Shell, as a matter of fact. Also, speaking of interesting things imported into the project, Cinnamon 2.8 also supports Qt5 applications, which now look more native and use the GTK theme that you've selected. I don't know exactly how that's pulled off, but I find it to be fascinating.
Yeah, I'm curious
And
to see what that looks like.
also, performance improvements throughout. Now you use Mint, don't you?
I'm still using Mint at work with the Cinnamon desktop,
And how many times does the Cinnamon desktop crash?
very rarely.
Really? Good. Because last time I tried it, it was
And the
crashing
only
quite
time I've
often.
actually had a crash in the past 6 months was due to a AMD graphics card issue.
Are you going to go to the next
Cinnamon.
Mint, or what are you going to do?
You know, I haven't decided that yet. I'm kind of looking to see how the next Fedora release comes out.
Oh, find out.
Yeah.
All right, so one last desktop release. While on the other end of the low resources desktop, LXDE has a big update. LXDE 0.10 is out. This release, they say they focused on cleanup and polishing and quality of life improvements with over 400 issues fixed and dozens of new translations. They also gained 2 new frameworks, Solid, which replaces libxqt mount, and some custom power management code, and libkscreen, which replaces the xrandr calls, and is Wayland forward compatible.
Hey, that's nice to hear.
Actually, I don't know why they didn't put this front and center, because the issue, or the number one update that I like is their new LXQT sudo, which makes that, like, when you launch something and it needs your sudo password, it's much nicer dialogue. In this release, that would have been one of my front center features.
Centers, yeah.
But yeah, that is in this new release as well. Also, new file manager improvements, better support for the trash can, whatever the hell that is. And you get ready for this, Wes. Search functionality.
Ooh.
Good old search functionality. Geez, that one beer that turned into 2 beers has made me all kinds of sloppy. But congratulations to LXDE. They this was also I thought this was also really good. Some other really important new updates to the new release, version 0.10.0 features. Are you ready for this, Wes? Replaces all instances of LX lowercase x, lowercase t, so it's L, lowercase x, lowercase t, but upper L and Q. Now everything is uppercase. They've replaced all instances with that, with LXQ and then a lowercase t.
That's important for consistency.
So I'm going to write this down right now so that way I remember it right now. So it's uppercase L, X, okay, Q, and then a lowercase t.
Perfect. Excellent work, Chris.
That as of 0.10.0, that is officially the way you are supposed to say that. I don't even know, Wes. I don't even know, but I just want to make sure we get that right. In fact, wasn't there also, speaking of feedback, before we wrap up feedback, there was feedback on how to pronounce Mate. Speaking of our Slack chat, and Wimpy, can you tell me? Apparently, I've been saying it wrong again. Do you know about this, Wimpy? Am I a jackass?
No, you're very close this time. So
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
no, I pronounce it Mate.
Mate.
I don't Mate.
So
and
like
I don't know
M-A.
I don't know that I've got the correct sort of Spanish,
So
accent for that.
Mahtay.
Yeah, Mate.
Yeah.
Like latte. I was told the
not.
easiest way to remember is it's Mate like latte.
Yeah, I was told that too, but that didn't seem to stick for some reason. Damn it, I hate that.
It's
Maybe
mate
you just say it
and
slower.
Mate is technically, you can say it because people pronounce yerba mate with yerba mate as well, but mate is the more.
Also, while I'm doing pronunciations, Xiaomei, actually pronounced Xiaomi. I believe Xiaomi, actually. Damn it.
Which one of those 12 pronunciations is the right one?
You guys get to guess.
You know what? I hate all of you
And the
guys.
value of this is negative.
I hate all of you guys.
Whilst you're at it, what about Huawei?
Well,
What about Huawei? Yeah.
it's pronounced
That's
like
the correct.
Huawei.
Yeah, it's Huawei is how you pronounce it.
But this
Huawei.
feedback right here says Huawei. Look, right there
but
on
that's
the
wrong.
screen. See, this is part of the problem. Before you hate me and judge me for how I pronounce things, do understand I have hundreds of different versions. Look, right there, that says Huawei.
Now you're adding
Just
something.
embrace it.
Huawei.
Embrace it.
Okay,
It's your quirk, Chris. People will
Yeah.
love it. I bet you don't
No,
say
they don't love it.
That Finnish phone manufacturer the correct way that a Finnish person would say it. You know the one?
Yala?
No, the old one that used to make phones.
Oh, no, I don't know.
The purchase one.
Begins with an N.
Hold on, actually, no, hold on. No, hold on, I do. No, I do. Nokia. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, go ahead, Wes. You it's on the tip of your tongue. Go ahead, try it.
I don't know.
Nokia.
Nokia?
No, Nokia.
Right.
Nokia.
But we know what you're
Nokia.
talking about.
Nokia.
Right.
Nokia is
Right,
actually.
and they don't.
what
It's
it is.
Nokia.
That's how we go.
But it doesn't
That's
matter.
how we roll.
All right, fine.
We know what you're saying.
But just to have a little bit of a interesting fun, Chris, the name of the music player I just posted in the IRC. How do you say that?
Let's see here. Oh, geez, come on, Rod. That's designed. That's designed to fail right there. That is
exactly.
Wow. That is. Oh wow. Okay, so thank you everybody. I'm sorry for my horrible pronunciations, but you know what? I'll tell you what I can pronounce, and I can pronounce it real good. You know what that is? That's DigitalOcean. Head over to DigitalOcean.com right now and use our promo code of Ultimate Power DO Unplugged. DO Unplugged to give you a $10 credit over at DigitalOcean.com with their $5 rate. You can try it out for 2 months for absolutely free. 2 months for absolutely free. You know what? DigitalOcean is super flexible, super simple because they're using Linux for all of their virtualization. KVM is the engine, and they're all sitting on top of SSDs. You can get started in less than 55 seconds, and pricing plans start at only $5 a month. That's nuts.
That's hard to believe.
Hold on, that's nuts. $5, that's like less than a single beer if you go out. That's how much that for $5 a month you get 512
It's
megabytes
like a cup
of RAM.
of coffee.
Yeah. Or you know what? Like it's actually even less than a burger from Wendy's.
Yep.
That is something. $5 a month will get you 512 megabytes RAM, 20 gigabyte SSD, 1 CPU, and a terabyte of transfer. Yeah, that's right. A terabyte of transfer. If you go over to DigitalOcean 2, use the promo code DO Unplugged right now, and you won't even have to put in a credit card. They have a very, very solid interface. It's really intuitive and easy to use, and you can replicate it on a larger scale with their straightforward API. Very intuitive control panel. I love it. And they've got a brand new data center in Toronto, and they've also just rolled out floating IPs. I think this is going to take it up to the next level for them. This is really going to bring you up because if you grow, if you're going to need to move things around, this is a no-brainer. Floating IPs, you can read about it over at DigitalOcean.
Plus, I think it's a great strategy. I mean, I don't really need everything in my life to be high availability, but now that I can, that's going to probably pick up a few more droplets just to have them on standby.
Like, if I was like doing VC talk and I was down to like, yeah, we have an on-demand Linux infrastructure that we just deploy servers on demand. Oh yeah, what's your cost on that? It's pretty low. It's like $5 a machine. No, yeah, it's like $5 a machine, and then it just goes up to like $10 from there, and sometimes we even, you know what? I've even figured out a way to deploy the machine 2 months for free. No. Yeah, 2 months for free. No. Yes, I use the promo code DO Unplugged. DigitalOcean.com, use the promo code DO Unplugged. Go try them out. They got CoreOS, they got Fedora, they got Ubuntu. They even got FreeBSD. I don't know why you'd want to use it as a server because everybody knows FreeBSD makes the best desktop out there. So you could try that. But use the promo code DO Unplugged. And really, what I would do, screw that CentOS and screw that Ubuntu. Just between you and me, Wes.
Yep.
CoreOS.
Yep. CoreOS.
Seriously, CoreOS. I'm putting my if there was CoreOS stock, I would be buying it right now. I'm just saying. But you can do whatever. If you want to do Ubuntu LTS and have 5 years of patches and have tons of easy access to tutorials and community, that's fine. That'd be fine. You could try that too, DO Unplugged. But I'm just saying, they also have a lot of really good community tutorials. DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code DO Unplugged. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Unplugged program. All right, Wes. Now, you know me. I'm not like some hardcore advocate about free software. I don't sit here and tell you that everything must be free and that if you don't make free software...
I think that we should all make those businesses fail.
But I'll tell you, something's got me real fired up recently, and I'm not even a driver or an owner of a Volkswagen, but this whole Volkswagen scandal is ridiculous, and I want to talk about proprietary software in devices not only our lives depend on, but are just really integrated in our day-to-day lives. But first, if you're not familiar with the Volkswagen stuff because all you care about is technology and you're not actually following the news, no judgment. This clip will bring you up to speed.
Volkswagen cheated on emissions tests again, says the EPA. This time, about 10,000 VW, Porsche, and Audi diesel engine cars are implicated. They're all installed with software that makes the cars emit less pollution during tests. When driving on real roads, the cars emit 9 times the legal limit of nitrogen oxide.
So this software, I'm going to stop it right there. This software is specifically designed by Volkswagen that when it is in test mode, It alters the way the engine performs. And when you're not in test mode, 9 times of some of the most poisonous types of gases come out of the tailpipe of these diesel vehicles,
which causes respiratory problems. In September, emissions cheating was exposed in 11 million other VW cars worldwide. None of the cars have been recalled in the U.S. and are still safe to drive. But the company could owe the EPA billions of dollars in fines, including nearly $400 million associated with the latest batch of cars.
The latest batch of cars includes Porsches, Audis. I mean, we're talking, high-end vehicles. And this has caused the mainstream press, like Cars.com and the New York Times and a bunch of others that are running pieces that are basically saying that proprietary software is the blame. They say outright fraud is possible because of proprietary software. And I think this is remarkable. They say it's a bad situation to get far, far worse. You throw a perfectly good phone away after 2 or 3 years because components goes bad. But because the manufacturer refuses to provide parts and code updates, really. As the driver of an old but beloved car that owes its latest 50,000 miles to the abilities of mechanics who understand the engine's technology, which is a huge, great point, by the way. They go on to point out that a day is coming when great cars get scrapped because the automaker decided it was time to force me to buy a new one. This is Andy Anako writing for Cars.com.
In that same report, he touches on the same thing we were talking about the other week. With Apple users not owning their software, only licensing it. Here we see that more and more car companies, in this case General Motors lawyers, have defended the practice that you don't own the General Motors software in your car. They do.
Yeah.
You have no right to play with it or tinker it or make sure that it's not polluting more than you think.
Right. 9 times more than they say it is. You go in to get it tested, and it's then polluting 9 times more than you thought it was. You go in to get it tested.
Yep. I hope they're revising the tests here as well. Maybe something you stick in the tailpipe while it drives around.
Pronoun, you had a comment about proprietary software by law. Go ahead.
Yes, I think some law entity in Europe actually had a law that you have to put proprietary software on cars so they can't be hacked.
That is horrible. And obviously, this would be an underscoring reason why that would be a bad idea. Wimpy, what do you have here from the podcast on season 8, episode 34 of the Ubuntu podcast?
Sorry, that was the wrong link. That's the one after that about the Librarian of Congress.
Oh, yes. Yeah, from the EFF. Yes, and actually, this is kind of where it's going. We kind of touched on this last week. Yeah, good point.
But there's a particular point in there about how this affects car security research, repair, and modification.
What did you catch?
That they've recognised the need for vehicle owners to circumvent access restrictions in order to repair, modify, and tinker.
Yeah.
And one of the things in this VW case is that you're not able to actually determine what the proprietary software is doing or not doing with regard to these test emission levels and how the car is being tuned is because it's DRM protected, and because of the DMCA you're not allowed to hack it. But under this provision, you now are.
This is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is a really big deal. And it is, the Librarian of Congress has extended this DMCA, I guess, exemption to also phones and tablets, too. And I wonder if this whole Volkswagen catastrophe isn't partly responsible for this.
It seems to be turning the tide in at least some of the public perception.
So here is now, I don't want to be like this guy, but I just want to put this out there. So let's be realistic. The industry is what it is. It's not going to be kumbaya, open source, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be, at best, people reverse engineering and figuring things out. This software, this stuff, is literally going to affect our lives. It is the stuff that runs our cars, the stuff that runs the trains, the stuff that runs the drones, the stuff that runs all of this.
Chris, just imagine for a second if CISA or TTP/IP or the TTP was in full effect. The person that would have found this bug in the Volkswagen software would be going to jail.
Right. And North Ranger, you also kind of wanted to play on that on the DMCA laws.
Well, yeah. I mean, what Wimpy pointed out with the exemption granted by the U.S. or the Librarian of Congress. Still doesn't fix. I wouldn't call it a loophole. It's a big catch with the DMCA is that the Library of Congress exemption only allows individuals to bypass circumvention in things like cars and video games with servers, it's still a criminal act to distribute tools to break those.
Wimpy,
right, that's a good point.
Wimpy actually has a really good point about how this could be a great opportunity to explain it to regular users about why DRM and DMCA stuff is so bad. Go ahead, Wimpy.
Well, normally we associate DRM with content, and if you try and explain why DRM is bad because it protects video or music content to, your friends and family outside of the open source world, that's a difficult sell. But if you explain this story, that the software, automotive software, is DRM protected and maybe tuning the car differently for its test cycle than when it's on the road, but nobody can prove that because it's DRM protected. It's a better way to explain why DRM is a bad thing and we shouldn't have it.
Yeah, boy, isn't that a good point? And why not having insight into the software is not a good thing. And I think that is
exactly.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing so much, and we have some links in the show notes. We're seeing a lot of people report on this. It's kind of encouraging in a way. I wonder, so here's my question, Wes. And is this crazy?
I have a feeling I'm going to say yes.
All right. As I wait for this stuff to shake out, is it that unreasonable for me to just avoid all of these things, avoid the automated cars, avoid all of this stuff, and just say, as a person who is a privacy advocate, as somebody who wants to know how my stuff works, as somebody who wants to have control and oversight, is it reasonable for me to say, I am just not going to participate for the next few years in this next wave? Is that actually seriously reasonable? Because what that would mean would be I can't buy a car after a certain amount of time.
I was going to say, how are you going to manage this?
Right. So is it?
You're going to be stuck with outdated products.
But so here's why this question fascinates me. It seems like people who are extremely interested in the cutting edge, what's really going to happen next, but very informed on it, are going to have to face the question if they want to participate in. If you know how unreliable software and technology is, you're going to be pretty uncomfortable with the direction things are going.
Yes.
And you have to ask yourself, am I going to be one of the first in this first generation who buys into this? Or am I going to let a generation of products pass me by? Because this is finally getting to the point where now your life is on the line. I feel like at the end of the day, I'm probably somebody who wants to just take that risk, but is it unreasonable to say, I'm going to let it just pass? Is that just get off my lawn?
No, I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it depends on your priorities. You're in a little bit of a tighter spot in that you report on the tech news. But
that's true.
For someone who's not that involved, who doesn't need to have an understanding of the latest and greatest, and maybe doesn't have a lot of workflows they're looking to change, I think that maybe for the next 5-10 years you can get away with it. We'll see what it looks like at that point.
Yeah, let it play out for a bit. It's kind of like you can kind of. I mean, I don't know. Boy, it is for me. It seems like.
We're definitely coming to that crossroads, though.
Yeah, and it seems like if you're an advocate of open source and open standards, this is not a great time that we're going into for you. But I hate that to be a downer. So let me tell you about something that makes me feel really good. That's my mobile service provider, Ting. I mean it, too, because Ting is great. It's mobile that finally puts you in the position of power. If you're so sick and tired of all these different companies running you over and taking advantage of you and milking you, check out Ting. Go to linux.ting.com. You know what I mean, right?
I sure do.
Yeah. Like all of the mobile companies out there, and I have to be honest with you, I am getting so frickin' burned by some of them. Even the ones that I'm the uncarrier.
Yes.
Yeah. And then let me completely screw up net neutrality for you. And let me be the uncarrier and completely usher in the era of where pro services pay to be completely unrated.
They're selling the public on it, and then we're the tech savvy of us are screwed.
I hate that.
Yep.
And then on the other end you have the duopoly, right? On the other end you have the duopoly, and it is just the worst. Ting is mobile that makes sense. Here's why it's great. Flat $6 a month. And then you just pay for what you use. You want 3 phones? It's $6 for each phone. It's not a complicated thing. And here's the nice thing too. Like if a couple of those phones aren't going to get a lot of usage, then they don't cost you very much. And if you're even like, I don't know, a tiny bit Wi-Fi savvy, you can really go nuts with the savings. 3 lines, $40 a month. That's what I'm paying. Linux.ting.com. It'll take $25 off your first device, or it'll give you a $25 service credit. I want you to try them out and click that savings calculator. They got a lot of stuff over at Ting. Try them out. They got a GSM and CDMA network. I think this is a ridiculous deal, though. The LG G Flex 2, it's got that curve to it. You know, I like some curves, Wes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, LG Flex 2's got the curves for $237. Ships tomorrow. No contract. No early termination fee. You own that phone. $6 a month for what you use, and then just your usage on $237. And it's like that's not for like a 2-year contract. That's just an unlocked phone that you own. You pay for what you use. They have CDMA and GSM too, so if you've got a GSM device or a CDMA device, you might be able to bring it over to the Ting network, and they have a whole range of devices that'll work. This is one suggestion. I'm putting this out there because the LG G Flex 2 is a really nice phone, and for $237 on the Ting network,
great value.
That's just exactly it. That's just a really great value. Also, I would say go check out the Ting blog. If you've been kind of pondering the idea of what you can get by. Do you need a good, you want like that sweet spot, an Android device that gets updates, decent performance, but doesn't cost $600. Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, they've got a Ting blog by Andrew over there. Go to linux.ting.com and click on the blog. That way we get credit. He's been trying out the Moto E 2nd Gen for a month and writing about it. He's looking for basically a sub $200 perfect Android phone. And he's been blogging about his experience. Linux.ting.com. Go try him out. It's mobile that really does make sense. Linux.ting.com also supports the Unplugged show and keeps us going. So a big thank you to Ting for sponsoring Linux Unplugged. Linux.ting.com. Go try them out. They are on a mission to make mobile make sense. Linux.ting.com. Thanks, Ting. All right. So today, do you feel it? Do you smell it? Well, that might be something else. No, the other thing you smell is Fedora 23 released today. Anybody in the mumble room actually have it installed as we speak? Is that actually a thing?
Don't let us down.
Come on, anybody.
Just one.
No. Okay.
It's for people who like to mess with computers.
Maybe we just aren't the right crowd.
No,
then.
we're not and we're not talking to the right people. These guys in here, they don't like to mess with computers.
There's all the software you'd want is free and available on the Linux platform.
But they don't care about that in the mumble room.
Most of the web runs on servers powered by Linux.
Oh, okay. Tyler's. Yeah, go ahead.
If it's any consolation, I actually was going to be running it, but I woke up late this morning.
Well, that's fair.
Tyler in the chat room says he's you know what, Fedora, that's not his thing. He's going for OpenSUSE Leap tomorrow. Yeah.
I can understand that.
I actually have it downloaded upstairs. I was like, well, I'll do the torrent. I'm going to help contribute to seeding the Fedora 23 download. It downloaded in 45 seconds.
Yep. That sounds
It was
about right.
ridiculously fast. I've been also following the RPM Fusion drama. Supposedly RPM Fusion repos are good to go, but the website hasn't been updated, so people are super confused at this point. And also Fedly isn't updated for Fedora 23, so people are super hurt about that.
People really depend on those extras.
Yeah, but I'm looking at Fedora 23 Workstation, and I think the thing that jumps out to me is GNOME 3.18. I kind of ding some of the other distros, like Leap's coming out tomorrow, shipping with GNOME 3.16. That was interesting 6 months ago. But in today's time, 3.18 is much more interesting. And guess what? Fedora 23 ships with that. You see, that's the difference. You see how they do that? That's the difference, you guys. That's the difference. They've actually got the current GNOME. I know, it's crazy. So they've also got, along with that means they've got Google Drive support baked into the new Files Manager. Also, the new Copy dialog box, which is a total ripoff of the Plasma Copy dialog box, just saying, is also included now in Files. LibreOffice 5 is shipping with Fedora Workstation 23, which is great. The new Calendar application, which has been getting worked on for a long time. It used to be called California, but now it's just called Calendar, because California didn't make any sense. And it is now shipping in Fedora Workstation as default. The Builder IDE also shipping with code auto-completion for Python.
Oh, that's exciting. I've been thinking about giving that guy a try.
It is very nice. Also, their Markdown support is...
That's what I heard.
Very nice, yes. So I'm looking... And the biggest feature, which I don't know if I'll be able to try between now and Friday, but I'll give it a go, is firmware updates via GNOME software.
Which device are you going to try to brick?
Yeah, right? That's a good... I think this one, the one you're sitting at?
Oh, yeah.
Why not, right? Yeah. And then also, Wayland is rocking in Fedora 23.
Oh, that sounds really fun to try.
It's funny because people are like, Fedora 23, online. And I'm looking at it going, Whatever. It's shipping with GNOME 3.18. It's got the best Wayland support out of the box of any distro, and it's looking really tight. So I'm looking forward to really giving it a go.
They produce very nice images, I must say. Like their ISOs, they got the multi-boot all set up very nicely. I know whenever I get a Fedora ISO, I frequently use it as a kind of a helper toolkit because I just know it's going to load on a number of systems, and it always looks nice and comes up with a beautiful GNOME desktop.
I agree with you there. I do. All right. So before we go on, anybody in the Mumble Room, any thoughts on Fedora 23 before we wrap up the show today? Going once. I'm going to go twice on that. Hey, by the way, also, just as a point of reference, in the show notes, there's been, I've noticed in different forums, message threads, things like that, and in our IRC room, depending on how you upgrade to Fedora 23 from Fedora 22, you're having different levels of success. So I've got the official best methods to upgrade from Fedora 22 to 23 in the show notes.
Oh, look at how much brighter, prettier 23 looks in that picture.
Yeah, you see what they did is they took 22, they took the same exact thing, but they made it darker.
Yep.
Yeah. So that
you don't want to be on the dark one.
No, I want to be on the one that they turn the exposure brightness up.
23, that's the good one.
That's the one that's got the higher exposure setting. Wes, you have astutely noticed exactly the same exact thing that I noticed when I linked to this thing. It's like, oh, they're obviously like, this is the dim one. It's no good anymore. No good. It's old and busted.
But what if we are creatures of darkness?
Ooh, in the night we lurk. Many Linux users are also creatures of darkness.
Yes, this is
That's
true.
We'll hang out in Fedora 22 land for a while. All right. That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Linux Unplugged. Thank you for tuning in on a Tuesday. Did you know we did this show on a Tuesday? You might be listening on demand. You might not have any idea. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. That frickin' daylight savings.
Ugh, it's the worst.
Hate it, Wes.
We should just make the calendar UTC only.
Well, we just automatically adjust to your...
Okay, well, that works too.
...contrived time zone, you hairless monkey, over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. Go to jblive.tv to watch us live. linuxactionshow.reddit.com for feedback, topic suggestions, and more. Also, jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact to send us in some emails. But you know what? Better than all of that, join us in our virtual lug.
Yeah, come be here.
Right?
It's a ton of fun.
I mean, every week. How many other podcasts out there are like, yeah, if your mic checks out, you can join us and just like share your opinion? You know what?
Yell at us, tell us we're wrong, don't know what we're talking about.
Well, I don't
or come and give us compliments. That's what we prefer.
That'd be good too. Whatever.
We're open.
jblive.tv, then do Bang Mumble to get that info and join us live. jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar for that. Thanks for joining us. See you back here next Tuesday, everybody. Bye, Z's! Man, that was a lot of show, and Wes will attest. What's the appropriate term? Because I don't want to say balls deep. I was deep into something before the show started.
Yeah, you're getting taking care of business.
You might say life-changing business.
Yes.
Before the show started.
You nailed it. You buttoned it right up.
In there.
Transitioned right into a perfect show.
And you know what? It's funny because I showed up, Wes, and literally today, minutes before we go on air, my life is changing. And I show up, we do a show.
So same old.
Mark shows up. Mark's never been here before. Mark shows up. He does a show, right? And then I go to jbtitles.com, and you know what I see, Wes? 14 titles. I showed up. You showed up. Mark showed up. Where's the chat room at?
Where are the titles?
Where's the titles at? Absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Maybe slacking off is the appropriate title. Or at least the meta title.
Wow. Whew. For the chat room, because everybody else showed up. Everybody else showed up. You know what? I'm going to go get a beer. I'm going to grab a beer. There goes the no beer rule. I'm throwing it out and grabbing a beer.
That was a stupid rule.
Ouch.
Oh, wait. He can still hear that.
Wes, I left one beer for you.
Well, I added some more.
I saw that.
Okay.
You're a good man, Wes. You come bearing gifts.
You got to grease the JB wheels.
That's true. All right. How's our join queue doing? Boy, still... All right. Okay. I think Rodden's on top of it. Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys about OggCamp. Okay. So let me open up this beer. And then
never did ask Chris which of the Minnesota brews he liked most.
Huh. You know, now that I'm looking back at it, I don't know if I could pull them all out individually anymore. I don't know if I don't remember if I recall. Actually, they were all really good.
Yeah, some of those were pretty strong.
Volkswagen cheated on emissions.
Really furious.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I don't think the mobile room could even hear it. So I think
Yeah,
we're
we did.
fine. Oh, you did hear that?
I forget that videos autoplay in the horrible world we live in.
We can hear everything. It's too late. We can hear everything. Okay. All right. Well, that's
what
fine.
you got there? Porter, stout, IPA.
I'm not going to dignify that with an answer.
Actually, it is a Imperial IPA. It's a Pyramid Outburst, a dry hopped Indian Pale Ale. The Pyramid Brewing Company is, I believe, in our neck of the woods. Isn't that correct, Wes? Aren't they? Yeah, they're from Portland, Oregon, as a matter of fact. So this is a beer right out of Portland, Oregon, a local beer for us. And I've seen the Pyramid Brewery before.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I haven't gone in, but I've seen it before. So I'll give it and you've already been drinking this.
I have been.
It's all about the Oregon beers. We make the best beers down here.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, that you're implying that Washington would not make a better beer. I happen to disagree, but I mean, I think we can be beer brethren. We can be beer buddies.
Yes, brothers in beer.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't beat Washington beer. Come on, let's be honest. I think Washington beer is like some of the best in the nation.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what? I'll take you up on that challenge. Give me a beer, and I'll go find it for you.
Well, no, hold on. Now, I would have to defer to your local expertise.
Yeah, true. That's the only way to make it fair.
Yeah, and I feel like here's the problem: is I feel like that question literally changes season to season. So I would have to go on a all-star brewery tour to ascertain the current best beer to get it to you. So you would be asking me to basically go drink a lot of beer.
This sounds like a whole new show.
A lot of tasty beer. And well, okay. All right. Well, we'll see about that.
I think that doesn't sound like a problem, Chris.
Yeah.